be trying something new today. Got this silicone mold kit from Resin, and for quite some time I've been wanting to get a kit like this and try to make my own silicone molds, but they're kind of expensive. I mean, I guess when you factor in the fact that you can make your own mold and reuse it, it's not that expensive, but I didn't want to pay a bunch of money, like 20 or 30 bucks for a kit, and mess it up and waste all that money. So this was actually only $10 on Amazon. I guess it's like a trial size kit, so it's only got that much in there, but that's perfectly enough for me to try something here. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to make a silicone mold for some guitar knobs. And so I've got 4 knobs off of one of my guitars here. And what I've done is I've put some double stick tape on them. And the idea is I tape it onto here. Get it on there real good. That way I can pour the silicone mix in there, and it goes into the bottom part, you know, the part that holds on to the volume knob on the guitar. That way I can get that part molded, and then this bottom part here will be the top of the mold, and so I can pour resin or whatever into the cavity that this creates, thereby making custom guitar knobs. I think that'll be really cool. So I'm going to go ahead and mix this. It's a 1-to-1 ratio mixed by weight. So I'm going to get our scale on here. And I know roughly the volume I need for this is just under 100 milliliters. And this has milliliters on it. So even though I'm going to be mixing by weight, I'm going to go ahead and aim for filling each of these up to the 50 milliliter line, just so I can get close to the amount that I need for this. So I'll put this on here to calibrate the scale, turn it on, and we're going to pour some part A in here. I'll take that up to close to the 50 milliliter mark. And then the next one I'll just base off of the same weight. Though it looks like this is probably about 1 gram per milliliter. So I probably could mix this by volume or weight. Motherfucker. Alright, so I've mixed it for about 5 minutes here. You probably noticed that there's not really any footage of me mixing it. And that's because my camera decided to just shut off in the middle of recording that part. So, I mean, I guess at least I don't have to speed that part up. Anyway, I've mixed it for about 5 minutes, so I think we're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and pour it. Let me check the camera, make sure it didn't shut off again. Okay. Alright, so let's pour it. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour it inside the knobs here first. Just because I feel like that might give me better detail inside of there. So I'm just going to pour that in there. Oop, poured it a little fast there. There are some little bubbles in there. I'm hoping those go away as it sets up. And I'm hoping I have enough here, because I need to not only cover these, but they need to be covered enough to where I have a reasonably thick layer at the bottom of the mold, and I think we're going to have that. As long as it's at least a millimeter or two thick, so it'll hold up. Scrape this last bit out of here. Okay, now, I don't know if it's okay to hit this stuff with a lighter, certainly not a torch, but I'm going to hit it with the heat gun to get some of these bubbles off here. Alright, so I'm going to let this sit for, I'm going to let it sit for 24 hours because the instructions here say curing time is 3 to 6 hours, depending on the size and thickness of your project, which there's parts of this mold that are pretty close to an inch thick at the thickest. So it also suggests that you wait 24 hours before using the silicone molds. So I'm just going to wait the whole 24 hours before I even pull it out of the bit of plastic here and even try to handle it, just to be safe. So once I do that, I'll go ahead and mix up some resin and we'll see how well the mold works at casting. So yeah, let's let it cure and we'll get back to it. Alright, so my mold came out pretty good. A lot of detail. I made this a little, I probably wasted a little silicone by how thick I made this, which I mean, it had to be this thick to accommodate the knobs, but with all this empty space here around them, I feel like I could have configured the whole thing a little better to save on some of the silicone use. But it is what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and I've got some resin mixed up and colored. And we're going to go ahead and fill these with resin and let them cure and see how they come out. So let's mask up here. And we'll get to pouring now. Alright, so they're all cured up and demolded. Really no issues with the mold. It really did pick up all the detail. There's these little grooves here on the inside there, and that's just where it kind of latches on in the middle. It's where it kind of latches on to the little knob here, the little metal part. And so yeah, everything came out good. So obviously this stuff was a win. Definitely going to be looking into making more custom molds. The only issue I had, which was really not because of the mold itself, was I had a little overflow. Not overflow. I had a little bit of the resin sunk in a little bit, and so I've got a ridge here around them. But I went ahead on one of these, I went ahead and sanded it down nice and flat. Now, of course, it's a little bit dull where I sanded it, but that's no problem. I can just brush a little bit of resin on that, and the little scratchy, cloudy blurriness will go away. Also, I kind of thought about maybe inside there, put something on there, some kind of design on the top there, and maybe dome it with UV resin. That would look cool. But anyway, so now I know I can make as many guitar knobs as I want for all my guitars. And as you can see, fits on there perfectly good. Now I did, the knobs I used for this mold are the knobs that came off of this guitar, but these volume and tone knobs are pretty standard throughout all guitars, so I can, it's kind of interchangeable. I'll just, you know, they'll all be this size and style, but they'll fit any guitar or whatever. So I do think I'm probably gonna buy the bigger version of this, so I can do some bigger molds and stuff. I guess, you know, the sky's the limit, kind of. This stuff works really well, and I know I didn't have the video part of mixing it, but it's very simple to mix. It's just like mixing resin or anything else. You just mix equal parts of part A and part B, and you just mix them exactly how you would with resin, only a little bit longer. I mixed for about 5 minutes, and I would say, you know, 5 minutes is a good safe bet. But yeah, no bubbles in the mold at all. It kind of degasses on its own, so as it sets up, you know, the bubbles kind of work their way up. I did use the heat gun to pop some of the surface bubbles. So, I mean, you do want to be kind of careful. You don't want to mix it like super fast, or you will get a bunch of bubbles in there, and I'm sure it probably would ruin your mold, waste all that silicone. But yeah, so this was the Let's Resin silicone rubber mold making kit, and yeah, it worked great. Kind of mad at myself for not trying this sooner. Again, I don't really know why. Well, most of the cheaper kits that I could find before were like $25, $30, and I didn't want to spend that much money on something and me not really use it that often, or not really get good results with it. But this is the exact kind of quality you would get out of any other silicone mold that you would buy. Does feel a little different than some silicones, but I've had a lot of silicone molds that look and feel exactly like this. And so yeah, this stuff works great. So for these, I'll end up sanding the tops down and finish them with some resin to get rid of the cloudiness and scratch marks that will be made from the sandpaper. And then they'll be good to go. They'll be good to throw on the guitar here. And yeah, and I can make custom knobs for all my instruments. Pretty cool. So that's the video, and see you next time.